Well, welcome back, guys. All right, so this time we're going to be able to create and delete an actual directory or folder. I call it directory, but some people call it folder, so you know it's both. And also the ability to delete the file. We were able to create and write a file last video, but this time we'll actually be able to delete it as well. So that kind of all falls into the same thing here. So, all right. Let's take a look and see what we have. Now, I've created 4 different methods here, functions, however you want to call it. The first one, obviously, is to make it. Second one's to actually create and write the file inside the already created folder from here. If we didn't create this, then this would actually error out. Because I did find out that by creating the write to file and creating the file, you have to already have the directory structure in place. If you don't, it errors out. So with that said, there are specific parameters for when you make a directory and for when you delete a directory, as well as when you delete a file. So yeah. All right. Before we get started here, I wanted to explain that the clibs file, the header file, I've kind of rearranged a little bit, put these to the top, and if you remember, this was all here before, and so was this, and then of course I had this. But I went further and added a few more functions from pulling information from the string.header file, and so now we have all of these here. So we have the memchar, which basically verifies looking for a specific character, okay? And once it finds that ASCII character, then it'll stop and return a pointer right where that character is at. So that's what this is about, okay? This one's obviously to move information around in the memory, okay? So we're saying, okay, well, here's the source, and here's how many bytes we want to move from that source. And then here's our destination, and we're moving this many bytes to that destination. And so that's how this works. You've got the set memory, which you can set a specific character at a specific spot in memory. So you say, okay, well, we have a string. We're going to replace a certain amount of string characters with a number 0, and this is how many bytes we're going to do. You know, how many times we're going to do this. And that's how that works. I mean, it's pretty simple. Then we have the memory compare, where we can actually compare 2 different strings and see if they're the same. If they are the same, then it returns a 0. But if they are different, then it returns a 1. So a 0 means false, that they're not different, and it returns a 1 if they are different, that it is true that they are different. Okay, so I don't think anything else on that one. You already know the others here, so... All right, so that's the clibs. Now that does come in handy for later on when we get around to starting to manipulate more stuff. Now, if you recall in the file protocol rootfs over here, scrolling down, and what I've done is kind of rearranged a few things. When you go to call the initialization file system, this section here was originally in some of these other functions, and I thought, you know what, I keep repeating this function call, we only need to do this once. So I went ahead and made that a global and then added it to the initialization, so that way it only needs to be called once. All right, now this used to be a read file. I've changed it to get file, because basically we're not really reading, we are getting a handle to what we're doing. So when we say open, we're instead of open file, which is what I originally had it. Did I say read file? I meant open file. This was originally open file, and I changed it to get file because basically what we're trying to do is just get the handle. Okay, so getting the file handle, and we'll call this various different times. So we needed the ability of create, read, and write when we go to do this. So we're just basically allowing these three parameters when we go to grab the handle. Okay, so this is the get the directory, and we're basically doing the same thing, except for with a directory you don't create every single time. So what we did is we're just getting a handle, so we only need read and write. Technically, we really don't need the create on the get handle here either, but I may change that around later, but for now I'll just leave that there. Now the thing is that this is read and write when we go to get the directory. Well, we have to tell it, remember that 0 parameter I was mentioning earlier? Well, we have to tell it what we're trying to do, and in this case we're manipulating a directory. So that's why this exists here. Then you already know about closing the file handle. If you'll notice, it's a little cleaned up from the last time. Okay, so we take the file handle from here because we can grab the file from here, and then another one is close the directory. So two different ones kind of do the same thing. Technically, I could have combined them both into one. But I separated it just so you can see that they are actually the same and or can be used the same. Okay, so this is the actual create file. And so what I'm thinking is when I wrote this, this is where you need to create. So technically, I actually don't need that on this one up here. Yeah. When I go to grab the handle, you don't actually need to grab the handle from that. And it's the same thing here too. So yeah, we're just going to go ahead and delete that out of there. We'll make sure that it works before I completely commit to that. Let's see what else here. Well, yeah, we have the remove the directory and of course the make the directory. And again, we have the create for that. So we have remove and make the directory. Pretty self-explanatory. We're grabbing a handle on this one. Let's see what else. And we actually create a handle on this one, so we don't have to worry about that here. We have the delete the file. So when we go to delete it, and before we delete it, we have to actually get a handle to the file. And then we can actually delete it. Same thing with writing to a file. We first grab the file handle here, and then we can fill it in with the buffer. And you already recognized this from the last video. It's just a little cleaned up. So yeah, I might make a few more modifications later, but this is going to be in a future, I'm hoping the next video, because this really bugs me and I can't wait to get to that. So I can't think of anything else. Let's go ahead and save that and just test to make sure that this is working. So we'll go ahead and manipulate that. So let's compile like that. And we'll say mount. Wait for it. Done. And hurry up. There we go. And now we call this. So the idea here is if we can be able to write and read and all this. Okay, so seems that everything is successful. Now the interesting part about this is I just wanted to make sure that it all works. So if you were to open this, there's, you won't actually see the folder or file or anything. So I'm just going to mount the entire thing and just skip trying to change all that, because all we're trying to do is just verify that that thing is gone. The my.file.bin, that's from a previous tutorial. So let's see here. So I'm going to dismount that, and this time we're going to kind of edit this. We're going to first create the folder and the file, but I won't delete it. That way you can actually see that this is actually working. So we're going to say compile that, then we mount it, wait for it, and done. Now we can load. So by running this, it creates it. Voila, everything's successful. And again, if we want to mount and take and look and actually verify that this is all there, because we're not trying to delete anything. So, and there it is. It created the folder and it put the test file in it. Now, here's the thing. When you go to mess and interact with this, you really don't want to be putting files in the root. We only did this for testing, okay? When you go to work with your operating system from the EFI, you really want to put it inside its own folder, because you're going to have multiple folders. And you never know if you have multiple different kinds of installations or interactions that you're going to need to deal with. So, yeah. Okay, so we'll go ahead and do that. And we noted that that worked. So now let's do this and remove these two, just so you can see that that's working. And go to compile there and mount drive. Now, I'm going to do this twice. When you see this, you'll understand what I mean. We're going to run this twice. The first time, it's going to say successful. See, successful. I'm going to hit reboot, but this time it's unable to find the file, unable to find the directory, because we deleted them. So it actually gave proper information. And to verify this, next, entire image, next, mount, and voila, it's gone. All right, so hopefully this helps. Thanks for watching. And like I said on the next video, I'm working on this. I'm running into an issue right now. I can't figure it out. It's kind of driving me crazy, but yeah, I'll get it there. I kind of really need this there because it's going to be needed for kind of the future episodes here. So this really needs to get done. So the reason I want this is so that I can predetermine the file size. Just to refresh your memory, because I don't want to use this much RAM every single file. I want to dynamically allocate that. So that's why I need to get the file size first, and that's what this is going to be all about. So that's what I'm working on next. Give me a while, because this is giving me some trouble trying to solve. So anyhow, thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next time.